Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. Sorry I've been off for a couple of weeks, but things got a bit crazy in the month of December, so we're hopefully back on track now and going to be on pretty much every Saturday. And the program we got a good recommendation from, but got 2 or 3 good recommendations in the last couple of weeks, and we're going to be covering those from the internet. This one is just basic bird identification skills. And we called it Bird ID Do's and Don'ts, because people ask, when I see a new bird I haven't ever seen before, whether it's at my bird feeders or I'm out hiking or anything like that, where should I start trying to identify that bird? And believe it or not, one of your worst enemies whenever you're doing this are these guys right here. These are your best friends and your worst enemies. But the point I want to make in this program is don't pick up your field guide or your app on your phone or go to the internet too quickly when you're trying to identify a new bird. We're going to check those, and you're going to use those to finally identify it. But there's things I want you to do before you go grab those field guides. And the reason is, believe it or not, when you see something and you're looking at it and you're kind of getting a picture in your mind of this new bird, and then you go and grab a field guide and you start flipping through that field guide, you start looking at pictures, those pictures influence you and you influence your memory. Oh, it could have had that. Did it have that? Oh, I don't know. It may have. Yeah, sure, I think it did. So all of a sudden, those pictures are influencing you to change what you really did see in your mind. So what I want you to do, if you're really serious about wanting to identify a new bird, before you pick up your field guide, there's 2 things quickly that you can do. One is if you have a cell phone that's got a camera on it, and you can snap even a blurry picture or even the distant pictures that you can blow up on the computer, that is a good thing, because a camera will help you to recheck your memory as you're looking at that picture on your phone. If not, grab a piece of paper and take what we call field notes. We had to do this in ornithology class back in college. It was the very first assignment that our ornithology professor gave us in lab, was to, during the week, observe a bird, take out a piece of paper, and write down as many notes as we could about that bird, and then bring it in. And it was also the last assignment we had in ornithology lab. And the difference was amazing, because whenever we were just getting started, we wrote down things like, looked like a woodpecker, and it had red on the head, and that was it. And then on the last day we had, our last lab, we had very detailed notes, because we had learned that things like color are a terrible the way to identify a bird, because color changes. There's wear on feathers, there's age, there's molting, there's sexual differences in birds. So color is not a good way to try to identify a bird. Now you're going to use color eventually, but it certainly is one of the latter things that we look at. So what do we look at whenever you want to identify a bird? When we write these down and you make even a bad sketch. I had a sketch I did on a piece of paper over there in here. I'm sure you can see this, but I just drew a very rudimentary drawing of a bird, the body and the tail and things like that. But when you look at a bird and you're trying to identify it, you need to look at those things that don't change. And I like to start with the head, and I like to like bill length, bill size, and the overall. Back up. I just broke my own rule. The very first thing I want you to look at is size of the bird, and compare that when you're looking at that new bird. Compare it to a bird that you know. Now this little bird, it looks huge on the screen here, but of course it was a small bird jumping around on the ground underneath the feeders, and it would have been about the size of a sparrow. So size-wise, I could write down the sparrow size, robin size, blue jay size, crow size, birds that you know. It's good to make that note right away, because when you go to look in the field guide, it's going to ask you, when you're looking at it, it's going to be important what the size of that bird is. Then I like to look at the head. and that is the bill size. Bill size and shape usually doesn't change on birds unless it's some kind of a deformity. But so the bill's very consistent. But so you know, if you can sketch the shape and size of the bird that you're wanting to identify very quickly, and the thing that most people forget about bills, and that's the reason I have this picture up here to start with, because on this bird, I would like you to note that this color, the bill on this bird is what we call bicolored. It's dark above and yellow below. And that is important to note because those, when you're looking at different sparrows, lots of different sparrows in the field guide, that bicolored bill color will definitely help you narrow it down to just a couple of birds that have that coloration on their bill. So that's a unique feature on this bird. Then I would look at the other parts of the bird, and the chest is a very important thing. What would you say about this chest? Stripes, right? So you would note on your little sketch that you made, striped chest. And if you look very closely at the stripes, if you get a good look at it, you can note that these stripes are just little arrowheads that touch each other. That would be a great thing to note here. So, and then you can note that it was a rusty color, rusty and gray overall color of the bird. And once you make those good notes, and you can even look at the legs and see if you can get the leg color on the bird. Now you might not get that long or a good look at it, but that's why if you could snap that quick picture, then you can go back to your picture and check leg color and things like that. So you're going to want to note unique features of the bird. That's what I wanted to go back and look at. Well, if you saw that bird, two of the most unique features about that bird that pop out at you would be the crest, wouldn't it? Yeah, the crest on top of the head and that long bill. Be a great field notes to make about that bird if you saw it. This bird, because sometimes you're seeing a bird at a great distance, you could maybe make notes about the tail pattern. The mustache or the sideburns on the side of the head would be something you could note about that bird. So make notes. Make good notes. Where's one I wanted to show? Oh, what about that guy? Yeah, you would definitely make some notes about the bill size and just how big this bird is. So some birds jump off and are very easy to get a look at, and you're not going to get very confused about them because they are unique. I mean, when you see some birds, what would you note about that yellow rump? So take notes and then go and look. So we're looking at the size of the bird, we're looking at the bill shape and size, we're looking at unique features on the bird like that yellow rump or that crest or wing bars or eye rings. Those are the great things to note about that bird. So when you go to your field guide and you've narrowed it down to a group of birds because of the size and the shape, then those unique features like the yellow rump will help you get to that part of the warblers, and a yellow rump warbler. It's very unique. So I hope that helps because birds can be tricky, but the field guides are great and the apps are great. But take those notes first, get a quick picture on there, and that'll help you identify birds even better. And of course, you can always send them to us. I get pictures almost every day here. People take pictures of birds at their feeders and want me to identify them. That's always an option for you as well. But you'll teach yourself much better by doing the note taking and doing your research. And then you can always send it to me for confirmation. That always works too. So thanks for the idea for the program. We'll be back on next Saturday. I think we're going to talk about yellow-bellied sapsuckers next week. Was a request on the program. So give us a like, give us a share. Until then, come by and let's talk birds.
2, 1.
Would you like to learn more about wild birds? You might want to hit that subscribe button.